Welcome to Wondershare Filmora. My name is Sylvia, and today we'll be diving into some of the tools inside Wondershare Filmora, more specifically those from the basic panel. So let's go. So first things first, we want to open up Wondershare Filmora in our computer, of course. And I want to import something for us to edit here. Just give me a second. All right, so we have this little 2-3 second video of my cat that we're going to use for today's demo. So now, I don't know if you noticed, but it just popped open with this new little tab, which is the basic panel, which is what we're going to be talking about today. So we have transform, compositing, background, auto enhance, and drop shadow. So let's first close this all up and start from the top. Look at transform. So under transform, the first thing we see is scale. Now, there's a bunch of different ways you can use each of these tools. So the first option is you just come right here to the numbers and you drag to one side, to the other side, to drag it up and down. You can also type in a specific number. So in this case, let's type in 100 to revert back to normal. We also can come right here into the canvas. You can see the video is selected. So we can click on a corner and scale it up and down as well. And if you want to scale not uniformly, so if you don't want it to lock the x-axis with the y-axis, you can click right here in this little lock icon, click it once, and it will unlock. So now if we stretch one or the other, it will distort the image. So it may be interesting if you're doing some sort of different effect. But for now, I want to keep it as the original. So I can click right here in this little arrow and revert it back to normal. Now, you can see from what I just did, she's down in one corner. She's not in her original position, which is a great segue into the next tool, which is position. So as we can see, we have the x-axis, so we can move her horizontally. And we have the y-axis where we can move her up and down. And once again, can input a specific number in one or the other. We can put 200. We can move her around right here in the canvas. Or we can, again, click the arrow to revert it back to normal and have her centered in the frame. Now, another thing we can do with this footage is we can rotate it. So you can see right here, this little circle icon. We can click and drag to rotate. We can click here as we've done before to rotate, back and forth. We can say 180 to have her upside down. We can click here to revert back to normal. But if we want to be more specific, we can come right here to flip and flip her right or left in 90-degree increments. Another thing we can do with flip, which is pretty fun if you want to do some sort of different compositions, you can mirror the footage, so mirror horizontally or vertically, which can be super fun if you want to do sort of a collage. Okay, so that's the transform part. Let's close this up and let's open compositing. So under compositing, you'll find blend mode and opacity. Opacity is pretty self-explanatory. You can make it more or less transparent. You can drag it left and right. You can put, 50% opacity and you can revert it back to normal. But under blend modes, that's where the fun begins. And if you're familiar with photo or video editing, you may have seen this in photo or video editing apps. But if you're not, don't worry. The best way I can explain blend modes is it's like you're creating a filter on top. But for this, we actually need a photo or video to put on top to use as the root of the filter. So let me grab one real quick. We're gonna use this one. So I'm going to drag this into my timeline over the top of the current footage. For this one, I'm going to keep the project setting so I don't mess with what we're doing here. All right, so now we can't see the cat anymore because we have this colorful pixel art thing over the top, but that's where blend mode comes in. So we can come here to blend mode, and now it's on normal, but we can come here and say we want to use the darken mode. We can use multiply, we can use color burn, linear burn, lighten screen, or color dodge. My advice is really to have fun with this. Test different things out, be creative, and really make it work for you, because video projects come in various shapes and sizes, and it's all about having fun. At least that is true for me. We've seen compositing, and now let's close it up and let's look at background. So for that, I'm actually going to first make her smaller so you can actually see the background of essentially the canvas that we're working on. We're going to first toggle this on. We can toggle it on or off. And if you noticed, this added a little background. Now, the default is the blur. As you can see, it just takes the footage you have, puts it in the background with a blur effect. You can change the blur style to direction, which adds some sort of movement to it. You can do grainy, color, or radial, and you can also choose the level of blur that you want, or you can use the slider here, put a number, whatever you please. Again, feel free to play around with this in your own time. And this, to be honest, I find really, really useful if you have a YouTube video that you're looking to put on TikTok. So that's blur. Now we can also put color, so we can choose any color we want. Can do a pinkish purple, we can do this green, anything you'd like. You can select, again, any color of the rainbow. This can be fun as well, especially if you're doing like a collage effect, can be pretty fun. But even more fun, at least for me, is pattern. So this, you're able to choose from a selection of patterns they have. To be honest, this one's probably my favorite. Let me make her smaller. Basically, these concentric hearts. We also have this that's very in your face. We have this gradient that I really like the colors of, kind of mimics that image we had before. We can use something like this. Again, totally play around with it and make it your own. But let's move on to auto enhance. Now, again, we can toggle it on. And if you noticed, I will go back and show you again. It enhances the footage. In this case, it made it more contrasting, up the sharpness of the image. And you can also, completely tweak how little or not so little you want to enhance your footage. I typically quite like this because I like high contrast stuff, but let's keep it at 50% just to be in the middle. And last but not least, we have drop shadow. Now, for this, you can probably guess where we're going, but let me put her a little smaller here in the center again, so I can showcase it even better. So under drop shadow, let's toggle it on, and you can see the default is this drop shadow. You can change anything. You can customize everything. You can change the angle here. You can change the color. Let's make it a reddish drop shadow. We can change the distance, the level of blurriness. We can change the opacity, all that good stuff. And again, you can select a number. We can use the soft type, which is a little bit more, soft, as the name says. We can use the tiled one, or we can use projection, which is a bit of a sharper shadow. And yeah, again, everything's super customizable. You can play around with it, see what fits your project the best. That being said, thank you so much for watching this video. Happy editing!